All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge. Round number 8, the last endurance of the season number 11. It's going to be at Road America, 90 minutes of racing happening after a 30-minute open quali that we are just getting into. I, myself, am Fettuccini. Once again, back in the booth. Joining me is going to be one Kevin Hayes. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Oh, I am doing, I think, probably about as good as I can reasonably get. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. We got a couple championship battles that'll hopefully play out tonight. And if not that, some other just spots for position that are up for grabs tonight as we final week. And it's at Road America, and we're in the dry, which I don't think OMEC's been in the dry at Road America in about a year and a half.
Thereabouts. All sorts of drivers trying to get lap times in, get the tires heated up, and some flyers put down. A couple of set lap times already. Most, I think, have had off tracks here and there. But many drivers also sliding in for the open quali. Still a solid 20 minutes left for them to get lap times in. Plenty of time there to get everything squared away. Do we want to talk about those championship battles? I know you hinted at them earlier, but I think now might be a great time to dive into them.
I think we get right into that. Let the people know what's going on.
All right, let me do this, and then do that. We're starting, I guess, we'll start at the top of the order as what the page loads up on the website with GT3 AM. Probably one of the closer ones, especially between Chris Kraus and Marcus Osborne on that podium. But Luke.
Yeah, what is it? Only 3 points between those two boys right now. I think,
Yes.
I mean, even Luke only 20 points ahead. If he has a rough night and Chris has a good one, and the drop weeks, that's the other thing. The drop weeks are factored in here.
Yes.
We'll obviously double check the math after this week. Make sure that everything calculates correctly. But, it's all still to play for. That's what the drop weeks are great for. If Chris's drop week and Luke's drop week are different weeks right now, and Chris has a great race tonight, all of a sudden, Chris replaces a race where he was 40 points behind Luke with a race he was only 10 points behind. That's a 30-point net gain. So you never know how this thing's going to shake out as we do the final calculations after the race tonight.
Yeah, we'll have to see there. The rest of the grid, especially the top 5, all have some pretty good spots to play for or defend from. I would love to see how the drop rounds also affect Charles Rotes, who is not joining us tonight, and if he keeps his top 5 spot that he was pretty happy with prior to this evening. The rest of the field, 20 drivers have points, 23 have at least qualified and been in a race. So good number of points there. GT3 Pro, however, I think is a battle I think we'll be watching probably all night between Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard. But
yeah, I mean, only 11 points between them. We know Dan and Nick have both had Nicholas Maynard, I should say, have had their fair share of rough weeks this season. So they're ones who I'm very interested to see how it shakes out after we do the final tabulation tonight too. Don't count out Jesse Olson. If Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard tangle with each other, Jesse Olson has been kind of that last step on the podium for most of this season. As you can see, Nicholas Maynard and Dan Griffin have won 10 of the 11 races, with Nate Side stealing a sprint win. But those two up front, and I think I'm going to talk about it again. Basic Ollie put out a video about it today. The front engine cars in this GT3 with the new tire models are just a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
And I'd expect to see those two throwing blows for 90 minutes today, especially if we get a late race safety car and we bunch the field back up and get to go do it all over again.
Yeah, I think that'd be a very fun way to end out that one, depending on when that safety car gets deployed. But the rest of the grid as well, I'd say Nick Terrell and Jesse Olson, depending on how those drop weeks get factored. Nick may come up on top and slide onto the podium if he has a great race, or if Jesse Olson ends up having a rough one. So I think plenty of battles all up and down the order as well, between really the top 10, only separated by a few points from each other. Here and there in pockets, Matt Markley and Michael Doyen also duking it out for that 7th place spot. I think we'll have plenty of battles to watch, kind of reach their natural conclusions in the GT3 Pro category. GT4 AM, however, I think it's going to be very interesting, and the battle between, I think, Jaden Rissard and Kyle Orbetz is going to be the one I would love to watch tonight, though I don't think I see either of them in the session for us at the moment.
I don't believe so, and this could be a situation of whoever shows up is going to take that 2nd spot. I think it's I think we can say Sean's won this championship. I don't think that's giving away too much at this point. 260 points in the clear going into the race this evening. Probably should have put him, because I believe he would be leading GT4 overall by 2 points over our GT4 Pro. So Sean Roberts has had a heck of a season in that GT4 class.
Absolutely. Well, and it shows like that, consistency really matters, especially in that category with the number of drivers that usually show up week to week. So the getting overall victory points there has probably been a huge boon for Sean Roberts over the course of the season, just by sticking in it and not getting too tangled up into incidents, and just having a consistent finishes all throughout. I think has really been a huge part there. So we'll have to see if he gets moved up to the GT4 Pro division in 2 seasons time when we bring back the GT4s.
Yeah, and he's had to avoid quite a few cars facing the wrong way looking at him this year. Every GT3 that self-spins seems to do it right in front of Sean Roberts. So for him to come out and still be able to be as consistent as he has been while dodging some unfortunate situations that he's found himself in, it's pretty incredible to see him run the season that he's run so far.
Absolutely. And last but certainly not least, GT4 Pro. Bit of a unique one. Once again, a technical gremlin for Landon to, I think, maybe sort out is why Sean Harvey is still being listed as tied for first, even though he is really only 4 points ahead of Gary Yee. But
and I don't see them out tonight either. I believe in our GT4 classes tonight we have Tyler, we have Goham Silva, Tazo, Joe Evers, and I'm missing the other 2. Why can't I see them? Kenny Duvall, and then obviously Sean Roberts. So expect to see some movement there with some of the guys who have been less consistent runners this year move around in the standings as we tidy up those championships as well.
Yeah, I'd say it might be a little bit of a hard ask, but if Joe gets a solid finish and Tyler Roberts doesn't, I could see there potentially being it would have to be a lot though for those 2. But I think either way, that championship probably the coolest out of the 4 of them, in terms of final battles that we'll see play out here this evening. So yeah, with that being our current standings, and we hop back in to racing action, GT4 Pro. Tyler Roberts setting the fastest time by 6 thousandths at the moment over Gil Tozo. I think that's going to be an interesting one to play for those positions. Ian Baker trying to see if he can get himself further up the podium, or up the order, I should say, to start out for GT3 Pro. I think it'll have to be an interesting order. A lot of drivers setting, faster lap times, but overall not faster sector times, but overall not faster lap times. That's the English words I was trying to say there. Road America is always such an interesting circuit. Is it one that you find fun to drive?
I love this track. I have a cutout of this track on the wall behind me. So this is certainly one of my favorites. It still kind of has that old school feel. It's not really built up around it, right? There's not a lot of runoff. It's just asphalt, white line grass. And it is just everything from slow speed to the medium speed, long corners, medium speed, short corners. The kink always gets testy, especially as we had the multi-class here tonight, cut behind someone who's just way slower through that corner. It's kind of got everything, and I think that's one of the things that makes it such a great circuit.
Yeah, it's one of my personal favorites as well, for much the same reason. It's got a little bit of everything without feeling like it's super built up. It's up in the hills of Wisconsin. Visited this track in real life on one random weekend in October. I'll probably do it again this year because I'm going to be in town. So it's always a fantastic track to be at or just to see. I think I love the amount of scenery and how not developed it really remains in both real life as well as what we have in sim. So the gap.
Hopefully something will be running when you're up there, even if it's just a track day.
Yeah, it was Champ Car. Yeah, so last year it was Champ Car that was racing that weekend, so it'll probably be Champ Car again this year, depending on if that time lines up correctly. The gap between Dan Griffin.
What is Champ Car?
Champ Car, I believe, is just a pretty casual. I feel like it's in the same league as Lemons.
Okay.
I have to go double check my notes. It's basically you take older street legal cars and go race them.
Oh, that's ideal.
Yeah. Let me go find the what's the fancy words for it. Yeah, Champ Car Endurance. Yeah. Champ Car Endurance Series, which is, it's you can do it with a whole bunch of cars. They're going to Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park at the end, or this past weekend is where they were at. Excuse me. Seeing. What the schedule is. The Mid-Ohio. Oh, they're going to Mid-Ohio next weekend, September 6th and 7th.
Another great track.
Yeah. I'm trying to see. But yeah, it uses all sorts of classes of cars based on how much has been done to them and what they are stock. I've considered taking my old 740 out there because it would technically classify as one. But it's meant to be budget-friendly endurance racing with older, road cars.
That's kind of ideal. That I didn't even know about this, and I'm curious now if they have any Texas stops. Might have to do some investigation myself.
I believe they do. Let me go check the schedule, see what we got. I'll be there the weekend after I'm going to be there this year for our Road America. Where is my full printable schedule? There we go.
I feel like that's how they kind of like Coda. But there's a couple of different tracks out here.
Yeah, Harris Hill Raceway. They were there in March this year. I'm guessing they'll probably be there in March next year. Is the big one I see that's actually in Texas. A couple in Georgia, which is not really that close to you. Twice in San Marcos, the Harris Hill Raceway.
Oh, they're down there. Okay,
yeah.
I know exactly where that is.
Yep, that is your your Texas stop. It happens twice a year. It looks like once in March and then once. I'm guessing the end of September. Yeah.
For an 8 + 7 hour, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cheap.
Yes.
I mean, $1,500 isn't cheap, but for what you're getting, 15 hours of track time, pretty much $100 an hour for track time is cheap compared to what some racetracks are like.
Yep.
14-hour enduro at Sebring, week of New Year's. Good Lord, this series is awesome. Okay.
Well, I'm happy to have turned you on a Champ Car.
This page. Bookmarking this page real quick.
Well, now we've gotten our mandatory not talking about racing out of the way. Talking a little bit more about racing. Top 5 in each category at the moment. Dan. Oh. All right.
I think Tony joined by accident.
I think Tony did join by accident and moved himself.
While you go through this, I'm going to go do the driver's meeting.
Yes, sounds like a plan. I'll run us through the order as it stands. Dan Griffin currently holding the lead by 0.6 of a second to Nicholas Maynard. A 201.5 versus a 202.19 for those two drivers. Jesse Olson also setting a lap time of a 202.57, 0.3 behind Nicholas Maynard. Nate Sides a couple tenths behind him. And then Daniel Curio is in a 203.1, our fastest GT3 AM driver, right in front of Matt Markley, who is the top 5, our 5th driver in GT3 Pro. Let me make sure I've got everything else there. Rest of GT3 AM includes Luke Plaisance, who is about almost half a second slower than Daniel, and then Chris Kraus, Chris Kraus, Chris Wells, and Marcus Osborne are the top 5 in GT3 AM. GT4 Pro is going to have Tyler Roberts only still 0.04 of a second faster than Gil Tozo. Joe Evers rounding out that podium with a 2:15.84, about half a second behind Gil. And then Sean Roberts, Jesus, heading up GT4 AM with Kenny Duval also there. Neither have finished setting a lap time, though they are currently out on track looking to do so. You can see the timer roll down the bottom there for all of the drivers who are currently out setting laps. They still have a solid 5 minutes to get a lap time in if they haven't already, but they're in the process of doing so. We haven't done an on-board of a lap around here yet. Do I have any other GT4 drivers still looking to set lap times? Tyler Roberts, in fact, is. Let's see if he's still going to be going for a flyer here, and we'll ride on board with him as he gets down the start-finish stretch. It looks like he is. We'll hop onto that roll bar. Cam, take you through a lap. It is a fun turn number 1, especially in the GT4. You're down a couple gears. You're mostly rolling through, trying to keep as much momentum as you can going through that first corner. This one is technically corner number 2, but it's more or less not a corner. Turn number 3 is going to be another lovely right-hander. Both 2 wide, medium speed corners. You're really only hanging out in third gear like you see there on that dash for the Mercedes. And then you're on one of the 2 very long straights here in Road America. It goes underneath that fantastic Sargento cheese bridge. Hard on the brakes as you pass by that gravel trap off to the right, and then you're on to the left, probably the slowest speed corner on this entire racetrack right there, maybe followed by this one only just. Still rolling through, trying to carry as much momentum as you can because you're on the gas from here. A little bit of a lift, just a little bit. You can hear it in that engine as I took a quick pause. Back on the brakes for the final corner of what I consider kind of the infield, the middle sector number 2. We're back underneath the Speedville Bridge. A fast right-hander gets faster the more downforce you have. For this GT4, probably the slowest we'll see out of these cars is that class right there. And we'll see him hard on the accelerator here. Kink, I believe you got to do a little bit of a lift, just a smidgen on these GT4s. GT3s, with the exception, I believe, of the Porsche, are going to be flat out for the most part. And then into Canada corner, once again hard on the brakes. Fantastic medium speed, rolling through. Oh, good catch there as he felt that car begin to swiggle. And into the last sector here. This one's going to be another awkward spot for GT3s and GT4s because the amount of lifting you saw him do there. And then into the final corner before the start-finish line. And then you go uphill. So it's a little bit interesting. Depending on how much fuel you have at the end of this, it'll be a little bit hard, I think, to do a bunch of fuel saving without having to at least keep in mind that you have to go uphill to get to the pit lane. And that's a lap around Road America.
Such a good track.
It certainly is. And Tyler calls it there. Finished with his attempts at qualifying.
I have something I'd like you to look at. You're already on him.
Okay, cool.
Can you zoom in on the roof of Wesley Woods? Those of you around last week, just go to like the far chase and zoom in on his roof. Some of y'all heard me be very confused about the difference between the Tennessee and the Georgia state flags, and Wesley has decided to make a meme out of that. You want to zoom in on that and rotate?
Let's see if I can do this.
I think it's your Z-axis, I believe.
Yes, it is. Nope, that does my height.
Oh, no, it's not.
All right, let's do.
Where's our rotation?
It's because it's a chopper, not a chase one. There we go.
If you zoom in on that a little bit more, Corporate needs you to find the difference between this flag and this flag. They're the same flag.
Oh, fantastic.
He did tell me he had a surprise for me on his car this evening, so I absolutely love that. He listened to the broadcast and heard that. That's wonderful.
Kenny Duvall getting a lap time in as they get down to the last couple of minutes before the end of qualifying. Landon Orr also looking to set a lap time before the end of qualifying. One of a few drivers here hasn't put one in. Alongside Tony Caicedo, Wesley Woods, speaking of Woods, and Nick Terrell, the other GT3 drivers that haven't. And then we have one lone GT4, that is Sean Roberts, who I believe is just hanging out in pit lane, is going to have a lot of fun. I think going from last to first is going to be his goal, I think, tonight.
Well, he's already got his championship wrapped up. Why not have some fun with it?
Exactly. Now, do you like this track more with more downforce, or are you more of the classic old school sports car style?
You know me. I'm always going to pick downforce over anything else.
That's true.
Though I do think this is one of those tracks that it certainly oh my goodness, sorry, I'm trying to get my timing screen up and I can't get it. It is certainly one of those tracks that the GT3 cars, I think, excel at. It's one of the tracks where you can really push these cars and they can move around under you. And you can kind of extract your lap time, however you really want to. Like, I'm a more aggressive driver and I've still been quick here because it allows me to throw the car in more and you can kind of slide it on exit. The smooth guys get rewarded in different corners and the guys who drive the car hard and like to brake really late and hard, and it just kind of rewards different types of driving in different corners pretty evenly across the whole track, I think. So, and seeing as none of us are professionals here, we all have, none of us really, I would say, know the ideal way to get around this track. We're all doing our best here. So it allows people of kind of different skill levels to figure out where they can make up time versus others, and it's always good to see.
Absolutely. I do agree with, like, I love how consistently wide this track is to allow for that kind of the feel of where you can make up the time, especially allows you to go too wide pretty much throughout most of the track without too much problem, assuming you give the space where it's needed. But yeah, I don't know,
that is the thing. There are some, because it is kind of a single width everywhere, there are definitely some corners that feel tighter than they are, just because a lot of more of the modern circuits, they change the width of the track corner to corner almost, whereas here it's pretty much here's what you get. What you have going in is what you're going to have going out, so you better make it work.
I think it's also one of the things that's super fun about it is that you always know that it's not gonna magically become super skinny or super wide. Landon, or I think running a little wide there. We'll see if that invalidates his lap time or not. Looks like he was on a flyer otherwise. Comes across the line 205, or excuse me. Yeah, it does not improve his lap time there, but does get it done and dusted. What did I have to do?
And you know what, though? This is exactly what Dan Griffin wants to see, right? He needs to make up some points. He's 6/10 up on Nick Maynard, and Nick Maynard is kind of even pace with Olsen and Sides, and he really needs Nicholas Maynard to get caught up in some messes tonight to have a chance, I think. So he's loving seeing a 6/10 gap in quali over the field, whereas then 6/10 after him go second through sixth almost, I believe.
Yeah.
So big advantage for Dan Griffin. We'll see if he can maintain that. He will have the inside going into. Does Pole start on the inside going to turn
I
one
believe
here?
so. Yeah, I don't know.
I believe so. I always get confused because I typically run the LMP2s. I'm sorry, and they will. If there's an odd number of GTPs, you'll end up on the wrong side in the LMP2 poll.
But
very
speaking
excited.
of pole and the other drivers here, as I have the wrong week for the numbers, I'll fix that here as I'm going through it. Kicking off our poll this afternoon, Dan Griffin, like you said, a solid 201.5, 6/10 above Nicholas Maynard, which I think I saw Dan Griffin's laps outside of his pole time were much more similar to Nicholas Maynard. Still faster, but I don't think the gap is quite as big, or what we'll see in the race pace, I should say, is quite as big as what we saw in the qualifying fastest lap time. So I'm curious how that plays out. Jesse Olsen, Nate Sides going to come up with row number 2. Daniel Curio is going to be first GT3 AM driver, up in 5th, about another 4/10 behind Nate Sides alongside Matt Markley. Ian Baker and Andre Saba are going to be row number 4. 9th is going to be Luc Plaisance, and 10th, both of them having almost the exact same lap time. It's coming down, I think, to the 10,000th at that point, which doesn't get tracked on our end. But you can see that 2.128 for each of them, and I believe Chris Kraus also mentioned it in Discord. Kelvin Collado and Patrick Cantrell are going to be on row number 12 as I flip over to the rest of the grid. Kevin Medina, Chris Wells are going to be in 13th and 14th respectively. Marcus Osborne, Landon Orr in 15th and 16th. Shane Brown, Nick Terrell in 17th and 18th. Tony Caicedo and Wesley Woods round out the 20 cars in GT3. The last 3 of those, including Nick, did not spend time in quali. Should be interesting. Kevin Hayes, the GT4 grid.
GT4 grid is going to be led by Tyler Roberts and Gil Silva Tazo in the front row. Joe Evers and Kenny Duval take up row 2 with Sean Roberts starting from the tail of, what do we have? How many cars tonight?
5, I believe.
25 cars. He's the tail end of 25 cars total, is what it looks like. I could be wrong. I could be right.
That makes sense. That's what I see on my end as well. I have 25 starters. I believe Sean is starting the pit lane. I think he had something happen. Who knows? And then Nick Terrell also has not labeled as starting. So we'll have to see where these drivers start off here in just a brief moment's time. Predictions from you, Kevin Hayes, for how this start and the first little while is going to go?
I think Sean Roberts is expecting some fireworks going into turn 1. These cars on cold tires, turn 1's going to be pretty sketchy. You see them weaving, just trying to get some kind of heat into them. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be worried as much about the front tires as I would be about the rears and losing that tail end. Going through turn 1 and turn 2 here. Well, turn 1 and turn 3. Forget we have Marshall Post 2 in between turns 1 and 3. So would expect to see potentially a little bit of chaos into 1. I expect Nicholas Maynard to be pretty aggressive, but not too aggressive into 1 over Dan Griffin. And you've got fast drivers coming to the field. Nick Terrell, Tony Caicedo in the back of the GT3s. They'll be looking to make moves early to move through the field. Chris Kraus had a great qualifying in 10th. Expect to see Marcus Osborne 5 spots below him try to get back up to Chris as they fight for P2 in GT3 AM.
Yeah, I think all those are going to be exciting battles to watch here as this race gets underway. Dan Griffin making good friends with the safety car, from which we ride on board with. I don't know. I'm excited to see how many cars we try to get across into turn number 1. I know my guess will be Tony Caicedo will make it 3 wide somewhere, knowing him.
Tony Caicedo is going to shoot it 3 wide before we even make it to 1. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
All on that.
I think it's very possible, but we'll have to see. Oh my goodness, how many cars can weave down the backstretch here?
I was gonna say it's pretty narrow as you go through here. They call it a straightaway, but it's anything but kind of that sweeping left-hander after this little sweeping right.
Yeah.
And it gets really narrow real quick here as you're trying to take the straightest line through there. So I'm happy to see everyone behaving, giving each other room as they try to get some heat into their tires here.
Luke Plaisance.
Dan has certainly been the most aggressive on that this whole pace car lap.
That he has, I think I'm trying to see who else was like that. Nicholas Maynard not far behind, I feel like, in terms of the amount of heat they're trying to get into the tires. But we'll have to see as they get ready to go racing. Coming around out of the final corner now. And the safety car will peel in, and then Dan Griffin will wait for the green flag to drop to kick us off. As the lights will turn red on our screen for that to happen. Oh my goodness, all those cars bunched up. Green flag flies in the air as those lights pop on, and the cars, speaking of 3 wide, there's Tony Caicedo doing exactly just that a little bit further back. So he's gotten it. Landon Orr has decided to make that not 3 wide. However, Dan Griffin defending from the inside there. Nate Sides as well as Jesse Olson kicking it off. Tyler Roberts as well as the GT4 field pretty well maintained off the start. Pretty smooth sailing so far. Sean Roberts will be joining the fray here momentarily. I'm not sure where I don't see a Nick Terrell as we get down the backstretch for GT3s. 3 wide between Matt Markley, Nate Sides, and Jesse Olson. Nate Sides coming out on top of that. Pretty
nice and clean. Boys they're taking it easy. Well,
you say that. Nate
what
Sides.
A save from Nate Sides.
Man. Yeah, he's going to lose out that position he just got from Jesse Olson. Going to drop down just alongside Daniel Curio. Excuse me. So he'll be working his way back up the field, ideally.
Goodness, the timer just went off because I put it on seconds instead of minutes. It scared me. It made me jump.
Well, at least we know the timer works.
The timer does work.
Good. I believe that timer is for our safety car, our competition caution, one might say, for this season. Am I correct in understanding that?
That is correct. Been a lot of noise about the lack of safety cars this season. We might need to adjust the percentage chance going into next year. But a lot of guys do want to see one. So not saying anything. However, I'm saying something.
Ian Baker, Chris Kraus going 2 wide for GT3 overall positions, both in their own respective classes, but Chris Kraus lunging up the inside to try to take that position. Ian Baker and Patrick Cantrell now within a tenth of each other, as well as Ian Baker returns the favor into turn number 2. Doesn't seem to be too happy with that, I suppose. And Luke Plaisance behind all of them, as Patrick Cantrell now has the outside line into this corner. Chris Kraus, Ian Baker going on the inside, and that looks like it's a tip of Patrick Cantrell from Chris Kraus as he finds himself out in the gravel. A unfortunate start of the race for Patrick Cantrell, but still out ahead of at least one GT3 of Nick Terrell, who is currently, I think, on a recovery drive of sorts. Oh, and Matt Markley is in the wall. Let's see what happened there. I think he just got the power too early.
I've done that plenty of times in that corner in that same McLaren.
Jeez.
A little bit too early on the power on the exit curb, and it just spits you out the opposite side.
Front end does not look happy on that GT3. Meanwhile, Dan Griffin currently 7/10 ahead of Nicholas Maynard at the front end. Another 2 seconds separate those two drivers and Jesse Olsen, who sits in third. Nate Sides trying to make that recovery drive has closed that gap down to under a second between himself and Jesse Olsen. And Daniel Curo is 6/10 behind Nate Sides, and Andre Saba is the fifth driver in GT3 Pro there. As these tires warm up, we watch those lap times come down for these drivers. 2:02.9, Dan Griffin's current fastest, still half a second faster than Nicholas Maynard's 2:03.51. And Matt Markley diving into pits early to get that car put back together. Fast repairs are available for him, if I'm remembering correctly, so it shouldn't be too bad of a pit stop outside of a small top up of fuel and the time spent in pit lane.
He gets one. He's used it early, but better just to use it back on track and kind of see where he'll end up after that.
That we will have to do, as well as Shane Brown and an Orr too wide coming out of the turn number, I believe that was 5, if I remember correctly. Oh, Marcus Osborne diving up the inside as well, trying to get past Shane Brown. There's not to be. But he keeps showing the nose there. Taking a look between all the other pieces of action happening right now. Kelvin Collado trying to get around Luke Plaisance for GT3 overall position.
Tight battles all through that GT3 AM field as Maynard and Griffin have done what they've done all year and sort of run away from the top row. The AM division has stayed nice and tight through this field. Daniel Curo having a great race so far, though, considering with the GT3 Pro boys. But what Chris Krause, Luke Passon, Chris will just behind them. Or Brown, Osborne, I mean, they're all within 4 or 5 seconds of each other, which can change really quickly here.
That it could. Keeping an eye on this battle as Luke Plaisance also has closed up to the back end of Chris Krause as they battle it over for the GT3 podium spots. Luke having to look up the inside as he goes into turn number 6 and gets that move
it's a
done.
Play make a move and he makes it stick. Great move for Luke there.
Yeah, fantastic move for him. I don't know if I'm having the choppiness or if you are having the choppiness from internet stuff.
It's on my end too.
Okay.
It's on my end too.
Okay. Oh, and there's a touch between those two drivers as they go into the carousel. Kelvin Collado going to end up picking up the spot.
Not gonna like that.
There. Yeah, absolutely not.
If he gets back to Chris tonight, I expect a little bump and run, I would say. It's I'd be given to Chris after something like that.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Not a dirty move, but a forceful move, and I'm sure Luke isn't taking too kindly to that. Chris now needs to try to run away.
Yep. So probably none too pleased at the way that shaped down, but we'll see how they continue to fare. Nate Sides, Jesse Olsen getting into a tenth of each other as Nate has the draft going down the start-finish stretch. See if he has that look into turn number 1 or if he's just going to hang out and get a little bit of that draft for a little bit of fuel saving. Doesn't show the nose going into 1. We'll see if he does going into 3. And that's kept it moving the right direction both times. Gap still remaining within a second of each other between Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard up at the front, but only just extending just over it a couple times as well. Dan Griffin still setting a faster lap time, but only by a couple tenths this most recent time by. Calvin Collado, Luke Plaisance go too wide into turn number 5. Luke Plaisance really trying to get back up to the battle he was having for those podium spots with Chris Kraus. And all of these drivers, Tony Caicedo as well as Landon Orr, all within a second of each other. Kevin Medina stuck in this group of cars as well. We'll see how this battle between these two drivers shakes out over the next couple laps. There's going to be a spin out of Shane Brown in the background of that shot. Excuse me, Chris Wells, not Shane Brown. And that we'll see Patrick Cantrell pick up a spot as well. Wesley Woods trying to avoid Chris Wells. He does so successfully.
How do we feel about getting the in-race interview room going tonight?
Thrilled. I think it's a perfect time to do it.
Chris Kraus, how's your race going?
Dude, honestly, me and Luke are chirping at each other a little bit. I'll be honest, it's been fun.
We've noticed. That's one of the reasons why I brought you in here. I said that if you pulled that on me, if I got to your bumper again, I'm giving you a little bump and run.
Pretty much. So we got a 4X going in under the Corvette bridge from Luke.
Yeah.
And then it was a 0X going into the carousel. So, I mean, who's a better driver? You tell me.
Well, you're 8X, and your drive is at 18. You've still got about 8 minutes to go here, bud.
Oh, yeah. No. This is super stressful. But that 4X was bullshit. I don't think it should have been a 4X. I don't know what the iRacing netcode gods were doing with that. But, yeah, they decided to give us a 4X right here. Like I said, going into under the Corvette bridge for no stupid reason.
I think netcode definitely.
We did see that.
It did not.
I am surprised that was a 4X.
It didn't feel like it. I was like, we didn't even touch. So, but it is what it is. I know Luke's a faster driver than me. He's gonna end up beating me, and you know he's the one that deserved to get promoted to pro anyway. But it's still fun.
Well, you've got a chance tonight to finish P2 in GT3 AM.
Yeah, that's my goal. I just want to, for once in however many seasons of OMEC I've been participating in, I want to podium for once. I've never done that the entire time I've been here, I don't think.
I believe your competition there is about 6.5 seconds behind you. So best of luck to you.
And that is optimistic. It's like 1.3, I think.
Yeah. No. To Marcus, the one who you need to beat.
Yeah.
For P2.
Yes. It would also just be kind of poetic to have Marcus and I in the cow Mustangs on the podium. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think it'd be great to see. We still haven't sorted our legal dispute yet, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. But best of luck to you, and we'll chat with you later.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Fantastic talking with Chris Kraus. Are we pulling more people in? Or
should we?
I don't know.
Who else should we grab?
I mean, we could grab the other side of the story and grab Luke Plaisance.
Luke Plaisance, welcome to the broadcast booth.
How's it going?
We just spoke with Chris Kraus. He said that he did nothing wrong and that you're entirely at fault. His words, not mine.
All right.
We just wanted to hear your side of the story.
For what exactly?
We just saw a little bumping, a little rubbing. How did you feel about that? I mean, he was a little aggressive into the
He messed
carousel.
up one of the turns. I got really close. We traded paint for a 0x. I got in front, and then he just kind of hogged one of the turns and claimed it was my fault. So, it is what it is.
He didn't actually say it was your fault. He just said you guys were beating and banging. Just want you to know that.
So, so you're just trying to instigate stuff, is what I mean.
100%. That's what I do around here.
Interesting.
I may be an admin in title, but not in actions. We just wanted to hear the other side of the story. He said that you guys got a 4X for what happened under the Corvette bridge, which I think is ridiculous.
iRacing is just tweaking, you know.
Yeah.
Is it a little spotty for you this evening as well?
No, I think just the points, you know, the incident system can be kind of harsh sometimes. When in
I think
reality,
that's a really
not
nice
really
way to put
good,
it. It's a very nice way to say that. All right. Anything you want to say to Chris on the national broadcast?
Not really.
All right, then. I will send
No
you
trophy for
back.
second place.
Damn right. I will send you back to the party chat. Thanks, Luke.
Good luck. Tale of two cities there. Between those drivers.
I didn't think he was going to believe me when I said that Chris was blaming him.
I didn't either. And then he did, and I was like, oh. But
Oh. Nicholas Maynard's in the interview room.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit earlier. I wasn't sure if that was on purpose or not. He is up to half a second behind Dan Griffin. Dan Griffin had a bit of a slower lap than he did this most recent time by. Super curious there.
I don't want to grab him when he's trying to, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I saw him pop in there. He's been there for a little while. But I was curious. Andre Saba.
We'll leave him for now. If he's still in there
Okay.
during the safety car period, we'll pull him. If there's a safety car. If
If there's a safety car, we'll pull him in that. Seems reasonable. What else is also reasonable? Tony Caicedo getting hunted by Patrick Cantrell going into the kink, which means that Patrick Cantrell is going to close down that distance and have a look to get around him for position. These two drivers, see who's later on the brakes. Patrick Cantrell, too wide. They're going to go rolling through Canada corner. Patrick Cantrell is going to come out on top, but only just. They're going to still fight it into the... Is that the king technically, or is that just turn number 12?
that is called, oh gosh, it's Thunder Valley is in between turns 12. That's technically turn 13A.
Okay. 13A?
Because 13A.
Oh,
yeah,
it
so
is.
we have turn 2 in between turns 1 and 3.
Yes, yeah.
And then Thunder Valley is technically turn 13. And then, which is the right-hander before the left-hander. The left-hander is 13A.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final corner is turn 14. So it is a 14-corner track. 15 or 16 marshal posts.
Yes. Okay.
So 16 corner numbers, 14 actual turns.
Got it.
Not to be confusing.
Oh, late on the brakes for Kelvin Collado. He's almost going to run into Luke Plaisance. Luckily, chooses to stay out wide. Luke Plaisance just got past him as well to try to catch up to Chris Kraus. Dan and Nicholas Maynard going too wide here as they try to get through some traffic. Dan Griffin getting caught up in that, and that's why Nicholas Maynard now has the lead. I want to watch that back because I think that will be important to see what happened there.
Yeah, I was watching that live, and Dan just caught those G4s at the wrong time in carousel and gave Nick an open invitation to kind of just fling it up the inside there. Dan really couldn't do anything, and then Nick ran a great little pick there, just made him have to wait, and he's already built up to a... where's my interval's broken? I've already to a second between two of them.
Well, my OBS just had a hiccup, so I'm wondering if there's more there or not. Doesn't look like it. I had no drop frames prior, but apparently had a hiccup. So we're back. I don't know. We may not have gone anywhere, but we're back.
You didn't break up for me.
All right. Well, cool. Then we'll blame it on OBS being OBS and having its own technical gremlins. Nicholas Maynard still heading up the field. Dan Griffin just over a second behind, trying to catch up and close that gap. Jesse Olsen, Nate Sides, now getting through that traffic. Dan Curio trying not to run into Nate Sides. Andre Saba in the back of this 4 cars, all trying to get through this traffic, making for some interesting driving. Luke Plaisance trying to get back to the rear end of Chris Kraus as well. And they're further up the road. Chris Kraus and Ian Baker once also back at their battle they had earlier. As Kelvin Collado ends up hard into the wall.
Oh, big hit.
Seems like a similar incident here. We'll take a quick look, just make sure. But yeah, it's that too much power too soon, and that looks like that right rear is gonna be pretty Dunyan rings based on the fact that it is not turning as he tries to pull that car forward, and we'll see him jump to the pits there. Man, Jesse Olsen fending off Nate Sides ever so barely. I'm wondering what the plan here is for Nate and Jesse as they go into what's it?
I would say the other thing too is this is a track where, you know, this 50% fuel is kind of takes you right at that 30-minute mark. So if you can be on the right side of it, during the pit stop cycle and maybe gain a lap on your competitor here or have an extra lap on the hot tires. You know, we have seen the overcut be pretty powerful at some of these tracks if you can save enough fuel to push hard when your competitor pits. So interested to see where we're maybe about 8 to 10 minutes from that first pit stop cycle. Be interested to see how these 4 shake out during that and who's saved a little extra and who's been pushing hard. We know that Mercedes is not the best car on fuel, and no matter how much they BOP some of these things, they still shake out the way that you would think a large V8 plays out against the V6 turbo between these two cars at fighting for third here.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how that how those numbers shake out at the end of 30 minutes and then probably again at the 60-minute mark of this 90-minute race where who's got the fuel saving strategy as well as who has the overall pace, because that also matters a pretty hefty margin by comparison to, well, not by comparison, but your pace also matters, I suppose. If you save a bunch of fuel but you're going very slow, it doesn't really matter a whole lot how much fuel you save if you end up not beating them in pit cycle anyway. Talk about GT4 battles for the moment. Kenny Duval and Joe Evers still within a few tenths of each other, have been since the start of the race. Not a battle for position, but a battle for overall GT4 spots.
I love that blue Aston with the white wheels. I think it looks so good.
I don't know. The orange and black of the Mercedes right behind him, though, is also, both are fantastic OMEC paints.
Hey, a great tease. The Mustang GT4 is coming in what,
It
2
is.
weeks?
Yeah.
I would imagine that's going to be a very popular car on the service.
I'm excited because they're also updating the rest of them to be more in line with their Michelin Pilot standards that they now have. So my hope is that all of them feel a little newer as a result, and they don't show their age as much. I think that's the big problem with a lot of the GT4s right now, is that they all feel very ancient by comparison to the Mercedes, or what we'll get with the Mustang here in a moment, or the BMW M4, excuse me, as well, with that new G82 instead of the F82.
Now, I missed this on the development blog, but were the GT4s getting the new tire model as well?
I believe so, yes. That is going to be, from what I saw, they're getting the new tire model. It'll not be as bad as the GT3 in terms of getting it up to temperature, because they have a lower operating temperature anyway, but they will require a little bit more, you got to break them in like you do most of the new model tires, as Nick Terrell flashes them both to let them know he wants to get by, and does so successfully. Meanwhile, these two, within a tenth of each other, Ian Baker, Chris Kraus, and diving into the pit lane is Nicholas Maynard and Dan Griffin.
Early. Unless this is a for sure 3-stopper.
I would say I'm not sure. Andre Saba also diving into the pit lane this time by. Ian Baker, Chris Kraus, a lot of the rest of the field, Jesse Olsen, Nate Sides, Daniel Curio all staying out. They will take over the race lead for the moment, along with Kelvin Collado, who is a lap down amongst all these drivers. Landon Orr also getting that lap in. Luke Plaisance, Kevin Medina, Patrick Cantrell. Marcus Osborne also diving in to do the pit stop on this lap. I'm super curious what the fuel strategy looks like here. We're just under, we're 25 minutes in. We're just under the 1/3 distance mark. I'm super curious who comes out on top. Dan Griffin losing out on the pit battle, as well as having 2 cars of lap traffic getting in between him and Nicholas Maynard. That should make for an interesting bit of racing here, as Dan is now a solid ways back from Nicholas Maynard as he tries to get around Tyler Roberts after the pit cycle.
Does the Mustang carry more fuel than the BMW? That's the only thing I can think of, because their actual stop time was pretty different. I've lost it.
2.88 for Nicholas Maynard. I think 21.53. So about a little over a second. I wonder if it's just a fuel level preference between those two drivers.
It could be. It could be as well. So Nick probably taking a little bit less fuel than Dan here. I'd imagine we'll see the ramifications of that as this race goes on. As we get to those final stops, it looks like it's going to be a 3-stopper from these guys who have decided, hey, I'm just going to run. We might see some split strategies here with some big fuel savers. We'll see if Nate and Jesse make it one more lap. If they do,
Nate does. Jesse
Nate is going to go one more lap. So now we're playing an interesting game where Nate Sides may have the fuel to 2-stop. If the rest of the field is going to 3-stop, don't forget there's always the chance of a safety car too, which really, I don't know if that brings the 3-stoppers back into it on a 2-stop or not. I don't know if it's going to be enough fuel saving for those laps. So this is going to be a very interesting situation here as this race unfolds. I love a good strategy game. So we got some chess going on between some of these drivers.
Nate Sides, the only one going out a extra lap. The rest of the field that did not come in on lap number 12, coming in this time by to get their lap done. Jesse Olsen, Daniel Curo, Luke Plaisance, Patrick Cantrell, Kevin Medina, Landon Orr, as well as Tony Caicedo, all drivers floating in the pit lane, getting those pit stops done. And a 4-second gap between Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard after the pit cycle. Whew. That makes this a little interesting.
I was saying Nicholas Maynard getting out in front of that GT3. I think you said it was Chris Wells. I might be mistaken there. And the GT4 of Tyler Roberts definitely slowed him down on that exit of the pit lane, and he was stuck behind him for turns 1 and turn 2, and Nick able to just take full advantage of that and stretch his legs with no traffic in front of him and clean air on his fresh tires to build a pretty substantial gap. That's going to be it's going to be tough for Dan to reel that back in before the next pit stop.
Certainly. Dan overall has been setting faster lap times, though. We'll have to see if that continues as the night goes on. Kevin Medina, Patrick Cantrell within a tenth of each other as they go into the braking zone. Kevin has the look, but slides back in behind Patrick, not wanting to cause commotion there. Luke Plaisance and Marcus Osborne just up the road swapping places. Wonder if that was a bad exit for Luke on the braking zone. Take a look here. Yeah, didn't have the rotation done and had to do additional braking to not make sure that car ended up in the gravel. Nate Sides finally in for his first pit stop at 29 minutes. That's still, I think, a minute short as it stands.
He's still a little short, but it will allow him on that third stop to take a significantly shorter stop.
Yeah.
If he has to do it, or maybe he'll go into a mega fuel save mode if he's already doing. Going to be very interesting to see how this all shakes out as we continue to go on. I think Nick Terrell, who's a lap down in the GT3s, I believe he actually started a lap down. I went back and watched, and it looked like he may have had some hardware issues with the session at first. So he's on a similar lap count to Jesse Olsen, but we'll see how that all shakes out as the rest of the race goes on. I'm sure he's someone who is absolutely begging for that safety car to be able to get a free lap back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'd be super thrilled to have it. Tyler Roberts, Joe Evers coming in from the lead of GT4 Pro to get their first pit stops done. I believe Sean Roberts, I think, is going to probably also dive in, but I'm not 100% on that. No, he's got to stay out. Another driver who has the fuel. Definitely a 2-stop race, it looks like, for the GT4 drivers if they can manage it. Luke Plaisance, I think getting a little bit bump draft from Patrick Cantrell. I'm not sure. Looks like it, though.
It looks like they're at Daytona.
Batteries trying to figure out how to get by, and so it's pushing him so that way he stays ahead of Kevin Medina. One of the two, not sure. These three drivers all within a few tenths, almost half a second of each other. And Landon Orr, as well as I believe Marcus Osborne, also battling it out currently for the bottom step of the podium. Trying to figure out what happened with Luke. I wonder if it was just some damage there from those contacts with Chris Kraus has dropped him so far down the order from where he was battling with Chris early on.
I'm curious if he may have just taken some optional repairs, like you mentioned. If he happened to get some front bumper damage and was feeling some understeer in the car, maybe just get that front bumper replaced and get some feeling back.
Oh, that's gonna be wide for Patrick. He keeps the car out of the tire barrier though, but is gonna lose the time he had gained trying to get past Luke Plaisance.
And that's not an easy one to avoid going head onto the wall there. So great job by Patrick to get the car slowed down and rotate it through the gravel and keep it out of the wall.
Absolutely. Marcus Osborne trying to get past Landon Orr. Chris Kraus and Ian Baker once again back at it as they get out of turn number 3 onto that first stretch, or first straight, I should say, with Sargento Trees Bridge. Such a good bridge.
Great bridge. I am set that the Johnsonville Sausage Bridge, I heard, no longer exists in real life. The sponsorship ran out, and there's a different sponsor on that bridge now.
Yeah, I don't remember who it is.
Which is disappointing because the giant photograph of sausages on a grill in Wisconsin was just so fitting.
It super was for Wisconsin. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember who it was. I know I saw it for a brief moment.
It wasn't like Velo or Crypto site, was it?
I think so. It sounds right.
Oh, so disappointing.
Yeah. Andre Saber, Daniel Curo, and Nate Sides all within half a second to 0.6 at the moment as they go into the braking zone. We're riding along with Andre Saba, who is currently hanging out at the tail end of this pack of cars, 6 seconds behind Jesse Olsen and the leaders. Dan Griffin getting that gap closed down, but it's still 3 seconds from him to Nicholas Maynard up at the front of GT3 Pro. Ooh, Tyler Roberts having a slow stop, it looks like. Am I understanding that correctly? Yeah, 4 seconds slower in the pit lane travel time than Joe Evers, which puts Joe Evers ahead by a few tenths. Hold on, let's ride along with these guys. These two, I think this is going to be the battle for the overall GT4 Pro lead. After the pit cycle, I believe Kenny Duval ends up ahead of both of them. And then Gil Toza, I think, is still on a different pit cycles because he pitted on lap 7 to, I think, assess some damages. See if Tyler Roberts gets around Joe. Two drivers that have been having fantastic season overall. Tyler has the look into the braking zone of Canada Corner. And Joe lets him through without issue. Yeah, I think that I would love to see how all these cars feel after the kind of, I think, refresh they're all getting in terms of what they have available to them. If that makes them feel a little bit more new or at least up to date instead of kind of archaic.
So I guess that's the question. With the refresh, are they going through and kind of doing a full remodel of the cars up to modern racing standards, I guess?
I think from what I've understood, it's mostly like under the hood stuff. It's not as much visual, but it's, updating their ABS TC profiles to match what they currently have in real life. Some of them have pretty basic ones, especially the Porsche, if I remember correctly, is not the most robust versus what they have in real life. Is a lot more. They have a lot more options in real life now than they did when they first modeled that, I guess. So all those are getting better profiles for that also bring it more in line with the actual like Michelin Pilot GSX or GS class standards for what they have access to, or like what their gear ratios are and stuff like that.
I forgot that they called it the GS class.
Yeah.
Not.
It's not GT4 according to IMSA. It is
GS.
GS.
It's not GT4. It is GS. Well, just like they're not GT3 cars, they are GTD cars.
Yes. And then you have GSX for the VP Racing series, which is also GT4s that have no change from the GT4s of GS, except for I think the power output is different. But man, I don't know. Both Dan and Nicholas Maynard getting caught up in this battle between these two cars as they get through them. Still sitting about 3 seconds between Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard.
Are the GT3s that run in that class any different than the GT3s of the GTE class? You know how they added GT3s to LMP3 GT4 series?
Yep, that's VP Racing.
Did they pull the power down on those GT3s?
I believe so.
They must have.
Just a little bit though. It's not much. And if you're a fast GT3 driver, you can still hound the LMP3s pretty well. Big.
Because they're definitely a big move.
Yeah. Good catch from Tyler there as that car went sliding, but kept it firmly planted underneath him. Taking a look further up the order here at Nate Sides, Daniel Curo, who are within half a second of each other, and then the battle between Marcus Osborne, Landon Orr still raging.
I think Nate's playing a game here. I think Nate is fully aware that he's almost there on 2-stop paired to the field.
Yeah, I think so.
Because he was hounding Jesse earlier, and all of a sudden Jesse pulls out a 5-second stop after these pit stops. I think Nate is definitely doing some big lifts here to draw some extra fuel out of this car at the expense of his lap time.
I think so. Oh, let's see real quick what happened here. Joe Evers getting past Tyler Roberts once again. I think Tyler Roberts had a bit of an off into turn number 2. Oh, yep, you can see him off in the grass there. Joe Evers keeping very clear, giving Tyler Roberts plenty of room to get back on the track. I'm sure we'll see that battle continue between those two drivers as the night continues. But take a look on board still with Marcus Osborne as he tries to get around Landon Orr. Landon taking that defensive line into turn number 5. And I think a great exit from Landon there has kept him in that battle for the bottom step of the podium.
This is a battle I'm going to be keeping my eyes on the rest of the race, because I'm feeling at some point Marcus is just going to send on him.
I get that feeling as well. I'm trying to figure out. Kevin Medina, Luke Plaisance, and Patrick Cantrell all still battling it out for positions. Of course, as soon as I look away is when Marcus has got to make that move, or at least is trying to. Landon pulling out all the stops defensively to keep this position. Marcus, I think, is getting a little impatient trying to get this move done, but has to pick the time to do it correctly, so that way he doesn't end up causing Landon to go off track. Who... few battles on track at this point. This is one of them. The battle we just looked at a little moment ago between Marcus Osborne and Landon Orr. Still raging on as well. Nate Sides, Daniel Curo within half a second of each other. Chris Kraus and Ian Baker also sitting about a little over half a second between each other, as I think Andre Saba gets caught up by Joe Evers. Daniel Curo gets caught up by Joe Evers. Joe Evers trying to not get ran into, which also brings up the fight between Joe Evers and Tyler Roberts back into a battle for position. Tyler getting that off track on turn number 2 about a lap ago, I believe, causing this battle to once again be on. Tyler having the single lap pace, almost 8 tenths faster than Joe Evers, but Joe Evers having that incredible consistency to keep in the fight with them. Chris Kraus going to make the look, going to run all the way up alongside Joe Evers to get through there. Both Tyler Roberts and Joe Evers going to run a little wide here. Joe Evers not accidentally, taking his racing line, which means that Ian Baker has to find his way through.
That's a tight up spot of the circuit. That's going to compromise. Joe now coming onto the straight will give Tyler Roberts can take advantage of that, because he's going to have much more top end with that better exit of turn 14 and the draft here.
Yeah, but it seems like that's only gotten him up to a 10th behind Joe going into the braking zone. Keeping with him, didn't have the look or the send, which I think Joe is thankful for. Landon Orr once again getting... this battle between these two continues as they go drag racing down the start-finish stretch. This will be interesting to see as they come upon the GT4s. Oh, Landon had the better exit, or or has a car that has a little more wing and is going to end up trying to squeeze off. Oh, catches that inside line, forcing Marcus to take the long way around.
That's a sketchy corner to chop someone's nose on.
I think they had the space to do it before, and he made his intentions pretty clear, but now it's going to be navigating this traffic. That is going to maybe be an interesting thing for all of them. Tyler Roberts staying well out of the way of this one as they go into braking of turn number 8. Oh, man.
Round outside there on exit is never fun. Marcus makes it work.
Yeah, both of them do, but it's always an awkward place to be, regardless of who you are in that situation. Luc Plaisance having an off track. Keep an eye on that real quick or see what happened there. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a, oh. It really didn't show me what happened there.
I'm curious if he may have touched the grass on the brakes. I've done that for there. When you swing the car back over to the left side, you just kind of clip the grass as you get onto the brakes, and it just takes you for, oh.
Okay. He... Weird. It definitely has him just disappear for a moment. I wonder if he had an internet issue on top of that.
I wonder if something happened to his machine or his screen went blank and he just turned left to make sure he wasn't on track anymore.
Yeah, just to get you out of the way.
Kind of sacrificing himself to make sure he's not in anyone else's way if he can't see anything.
Yeah. Marcus once again trying to go around the long way. Landon Orr continuing to fend off this bottom step of the podium for these two drivers as it wait on the brakes there for Marcus. That's going to cost him a little bit of time to Landon Orr. He seems to find the momentum but can't seem to make the move stick. I wonder if he's almost overdriving that car too much, and that's costing him tire that tires no longer want to get as much traction as it can as a result of being overheated.
Yeah, well, Marcus's tires have to do a little bit more work in the dirty air. Definitely is going to degrade him up. He's got a great run here. I do want to point out, as all this is going on, we don't need to cut to it. Dan had the lead down to about 2.2 seconds, so he is chipping away. He's we're about halfway through, or 2/3 of the way through their second stint. And he's brought that gap back down. So I think as long as his stop isn't disastrous again on pit out, we'll I'm sure see these two continue to get closer together.
That we will. Watching these two continue to go toe to toe. Also diving back into a fight with each other. Joe Evers, Tyler Roberts, that gap still within a few tenths of each other. As they see, I'm trying to see. There's a 2-second gap between them and Kenny Duval. I'm trying to figure out. Kenny Duval a 6-second gap between them and Kenny Duval. I'm trying to figure out if that was just the pit cycle, because it looks like they were a few seconds faster.
Yeah, it looks like Kenny's pit stop he was in the box for 27.5. Joe Evers 4 seconds slower, but that doesn't account for the 6-second gap between them. Yeah. So I'm quite sure, unless we just missed Kenny's running away with it earlier.
I think he's just been setting solid lap times. It looks like that's what happened initially, and it seems to be continuing because he's setting 2:16.30s here. Oh, and that's going to be an off track for Chris Kraus. He's back into it. but he's moving pretty slow. I was trying to figure out if there's something wrong with his machine or if it's just the way that is shaping up. And once again, Landon defending the inside from Marcus Osborne for this bottom step of the podium. Keeping up with Joe Evers and Tyler Roberts again. That gap down to 0.2 of a second. They're getting intersected by GT3, which is going to compromise the exit of Joe, which might give a good run to Tyler Roberts here going into Canada corner. Let's see. Oh, they're getting real close. Tyler's taking advantage of the opening, lunges down the inside, gets the move made. Those two keeping it nice and clean.
Yeah, really opportunistic move there from Tyler. Just saw a little bit of that opening and had to just got his nose alongside on that straightaway, which compromised exit the previous corner and was able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, the two of them still hanging out without a few tenths of each other. Marcus Osborne really losing time, or seems to be losing time here behind Landon Orr. I'm curious if he's now opting to take a moment to kind of let the tires cool down before he tries to make another attempt at passing.
So the folks who had to pit after 25 minutes, we're at another 25 minutes after this lap. So we might start to see the first round of pit stops come through.
Yeah.
It could be a little interesting what happens here as this second stint begins to close.
Yeah, I'd have to see how those all play out. Taking a quick look at the 2-second gap that Dan's got it down to now, which I think will be a huge piece of that. Speaking of pit cycles, I don't think this is intentionally on pit cycle. Ian Baker, I think, is our first driver to actually dive in for this pit cycle to get his second pit stop of the night done. Luke Plaisant's also back in pit lane as well. I'm sure that's for his off track he had just a moment ago. I wonder if it's a similar issue. I want to take a look here. Oh, it seems to be, definitely looks like a hardware failure of some kind. Oh, you can see that car just seem to straighten out and then just hangs out there. A rough night for Luke there.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Landon Orr building up over a second gap between them. And between himself, and Marcus Osborne. Seconds gap in between most of the drivers at this point. I think some individuals are going to be super excited about a safety car here if we get one.
Yeah.
If we get one. Daniel Curo and Andre Saba within a few tenths of each other. Kelvin Collado diving in the pit lane once again.
Oh, and here comes Nick Maynard and Dan Griffin into the pit lane as well.
Yep.
Leaders are in.
They dive in. We'll see if Jesse Olsen stays out another lap or two again. If he stayed out one lap last time, stays out 2 laps this time, we'll know that he's on his own pit cycle. Ahead of Nate Side, still sitting about 5 seconds ahead as he continues on. And that will, we'll see him one of probably 2 laps here, I believe, where he'll stay out, if I'm understanding that math correctly. Andre Saba breaking in as well. We'll probably see a good portion of these drivers after that dive in. Chris Kraus going to look for that pit entry as well. Landon Orr gonna stay out. Marcus Osborne gonna dive in. Okay. That's gonna make this a bit interesting. Ooh, I wonder if that was a bit interesting there. Oh, Dan Griffin gonna stay ahead of Landon Orr this time. not wanting to get caught behind GT3 AM. Still keeping that gap at about a 1.5 seconds. Almost identical pit stop times for both Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard. Fantastic, interesting stuff. For those
down
guys.
to the 10th in the pit lane.
Man,
Awesome stuff.
the gap down to 0.5 seconds here between these two drivers. I wonder if, I don't know if you saw it, if Nick took tires, Nicholas Maynard took tires, and Dan Griffin did not. I'm super curious there.
I didn't notice. I will go back and check really quick. I had my TV camera that I was on had
I
a
think
fence in the
Nicholas
way,
took-
and I went to check, and then I switched.
I definitely get the feeling Nicholas took tires because he was weaving just before the kink to get those heated up to hold on to the lead that he has. Dan
You
Griffin.
are 100% correct.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so that's going to be interesting there as we get into this because Dan Griffin doesn't look like he took tires. Therefore, he's going to have that advantage over Nicholas Maynard at this point. Landon Orr trying to see what he can learn from these two front runners before he has to dive into pits, which he doesn't yet. Dan has the look up the inside on the start-finish stretch. I think we're going to see that pass for position happen as they go into the braking zone of turn number 1. Dan's ahead, but only just. Not enough to come back over, but he keeps his foot in. Has the later braking because he has those at least more up to temperature tires. They're going to be more used. We're going to see this curve probably swing back into the favor of Nicholas Maynard here in a little bit, if that's the case. Patrick Cantrell, Landon Orr, Kevin Medina, and Tony Caicedo all diving into pit lane as well. Jesse Olsen still out, leading the race 5 seconds ahead of Nate Sides, who has managed to pull a 6-second gap to Daniel Curo. These two still within 0.5 seconds of each other, as Nicholas Maynard's tires are getting into their operating window proper now. Ian Baker, Chris Kraus within 1/10 of a second of each other. Ian Baker, I don't think he's super thrilled about being behind Chris Kraus. Marcus Osborne and Landon Orr now separated by 4 seconds as those two drivers finish their pit cycles respectively. All right. Oh, there's a look for Ian Baker to make that move for overall position. Chris Kraus not fighting it too much. So it is only for overall positions. He's still holding on to his P2 as it stands. Jesse Olsen diving into pit lane this time by Daniel Curo doing the same. Nate Sides holding on to his lead taking over the lead from Jesse Olsen at the moment. A solid 40 seconds ahead of, solid 15 seconds ahead of Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard. Kelvin Quado listed as crashed. He's going to jump into pit lane after that. Unfortunate for him. Over a second between Dan Griffin and Nicholas Maynard at this point. Nate Sides still holding on to the lead by 16 seconds at the moment. Still has to come in for his second pit stop of the night. I think he's definitely banking on that 2-stop. I believe he has, 2 more laps after Jesse and Daniel come in before his scheduled pit stop at least?
Yeah, it looks like Nate is on lap 13 of this stint, but yeah, he had a 1 lap longer than Jesse his previous stint. Jesse's on his out lap, so we'll see if Nate comes in or if he's able to stretch it even further. and try to get well within that 30-minute mark before having to come to the pit lane.
He managed to do it the first time around. He should do it this time around if he goes one more and does two 14-lap pit stops. Kenny Duval diving to pit lane, the first of the on pit cycle, I would say, GT4 drivers, allowing Tyler Roberts to take over the lead 1 second ahead of Joe Evers.
Here comes Nate Sides.
Yeah, he comes in this lap, so it is right on the margin for him, it looks like.
If anyone can do it, it's going to be him, but you
Jesse
never know.
Olsen with the 37-second pit stop. What happened there? I'm super curious.
I would think that's taken damage. There's no other way, but I don't know where he would have gotten damage from.
Yeah, who's kind of running on his own? I'm super curious as well. That or just wasn't paying attention, I guess. The other thing I could think of. Or he took all 4 tires. Which I don't think would take that long, but maybe I've got that wrong. It's usually pretty quick with GT3s.
I'm watching Nate right now. No, yeah, Nate was in the box for 21 and a half, and he took 4.
Okay.
And a full tank. So, I mean, an extra 16 seconds I can really only explain with damage, really.
I wonder maybe if he clipped something somewhere, got a little bit of a, fender bump.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, something I can think of as well. Nick Terrell in for his pit stop. Second pit stop of the evening. Also looking to make it a 2-stopper. And I think he will be able to pull it off if that's the case. Chris Kraus and Ian Baker still working on this battle between the two of them. Landon Orr having an off track, which is going to put him back within the sight line of Marcus Osborne. You can see that in the background of this shot at the moment. Still a second between those two drivers as the racing action continues. 2/3 distance. Officially crossed. Tony Caicedo having an off track as well. Bit of a brief one. Just cutting a little bit of the grass for the groundskeepers and getting that car back on track. GT4 leaders, both Tyler Roberts and Joe Evers, diving to pit lane as well. We'll have to see where they come out after their respective pit cycles. Joe Evers winning that last time. Curious to see if that happens again here before the end of the race. I'm curious if Jesse Olsen is now trying to fuel save to make it to the end.
Well, he's kind of stuck between a couple guys, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's okay taking that draft and trying to ride this out and maybe gain some freebies towards the end there.
Yeah, that'd be my guess as well.
Now, that also depends on if the lapped car one wants to let him by, but also has the pace that makes up for the fuel save. Just because you're fuel saving doesn't mean you can let your lap time drop off too much. Otherwise, you're going to be going backwards anyways. As it gets a little hairy down there.
Gets a little hairy. Daniel Curo also wanting to hang on and also get a little bit of the benefit of the fuel.
Oh boy. Oh
draft. In the background of that, Chris Kraus, Ian Baker swapping positions once again. I believe we have a yellow flag thrown. Is that the competition caution? believe it is. I'll let you go to work.
That is. Hold on. I gotta jump in.
Do your thing. So, the competition caution has been thrown. What that means is all of our drivers are going to slow down to they're going to try to catch up to the leader. I say the leader. Yes, the leader and the pace car, which should have pulled out, I think, right in front of Dan Griffin. If I'm understanding that correctly, if I can hit the buttons and I can show you that pace car is in fact right there. There's a safety car. Those lights are on. It is currently catching the rest of the field. Dan Griffin, Nicholas Maynard flying up there, and the rest of the field going to pile in behind them. For those who since we haven't seen it all season long, quick rundown on what's going to happen here based on what I know and what I've been told in case we had this. So we'll see the field do two things. First time around after the pit lane will open for the drivers on the lead lap. Any of the drivers that are not on the lead lap will fly around the safety car, and then have the opportunity to pit on the following lap, the following time they get around to the start finish line. Very IndyCar style, one might say. Now, this is super interesting because I'm curious how many cars are going to dive in to get their final pits done. We had this come out just after the pit window for these drivers. This also brings into contention the battle between Dan Griffin, Nicholas Maynard, and how that's going to shape out here in the closing stages. Chris Kraus, Ian Baker, Landon Orr, and Marcus Osborne, those two, I think, are going to be duking it out all the way up until the end at this point. We'll have to see. I believe we'll also probably see the GT4 class shuffle itself to the back of the pack. I'm not 100% on that, though. As we look at some beautiful 2D trees. I forgot there are also houses, like buildings where people do, pit work and stuff like that in the middle of this as well. Let's look at more trees, because why wouldn't we? See all these cars, GT3, GT4 alike, all diving in. Sean Roberts still has to make his second pit stop of the night. I think he'll be excited to be able to do that under yellow, minimize the time lost there compared to the drivers that he's going to be around. Well, he'll do that on the second lap of these. We'll see who comes in and who stays out. I guess we'll probably see Dan Griffin, Nicholas Maynard both come in for a splash and dash. I'm super curious how old those tires are going to be for Dan Griffin at the end if he didn't take them. I'm curious if he took them on the first one, because it would understand why he had the gap he did to Nicholas Maynard at the start of this. But 20 minutes of racing. We have these pit stops happening, or will be happening here in just a moment's time. So we're looking at a very interesting window here. Marcy, Dan Griffin, Nicholas Maynard dive into pit lane. All the lap traffic. You see Shane Brown as well as Kelvin Collado make their way up, and ideally they're going to go around the pace car is the thing that they should be doing, if I'm remembering correctly. Nate Sides staying out as these cars, I think, are going to start going around. We're going to see the GT3s that are a lap down make their way around the pace car. I think we're also going to see, there we go. We see Kelvin Collado also diving past the pace car. Shane Brown staying out and where he is at the moment. We're going to see GT4s, I believe, go as well here in a moment. And yep, there we go. We see the GT4s dive out to make their own run. Or, excuse me, they're going to slide back to form their own grid here in a moment. We have just over 20 minutes of racing left once all these pit cycles get done. What I'm fascinated with, Nicholas Maynard, Dan Griffin, both in the box for 7 and 13 seconds respectively. I wonder if Dan is going to be... Oh, Dan is warming up those tires. I bet he took a fresh set of tires now that he knew he was going to be okay to the end of the race. And how that's going to play out. Tony Caicedo, Daniel Curo as well with these cars. Just a whole bunch. Nate Sides ends up leading this pack of cars that did not pit. So we're going to see... them dive in. Luke Plaisance diving in to pit lane. We see Shane Brown joining those, making their lap, getting their lap back on the leaders to dive into pit lane. And then we're going to probably see, I think my hope is that we see those that did not pit already. Oh, I suppose, on their own, they're going to be hanging out. Daniel Curo and all of them a lap ahead still. Take a look, just flipping around through the blimp cam, looking at as many cars as we can see here. Now, with the field as bunched up as it's going to be, I think it's going to be a very fascinating restart to end off this season. We'll have to see how it plays out. I believe we have a couple more laps. At least one more lap of the safety car. Lights are still on. Lights usually come off on that final lap. But we'll have to see here. Yeah, the field all put together. Shane Brown sneaking out ahead of the pace car as he comes around once more. We're going to have a good old-fashioned shootout to the finish is what I think is going to happen there. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I think Nate Sides played this beautifully by pitting late on lap number 28. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but you're going to see the weaving of all of these cars. Marcus Osborne in the back there as well as they put some heat into those tires, try to keep them warm for the restart. Lights on the pace car are off, which probably means we're about to go racing here in a few corners time. Get ready to go back to green flag action Nate Side's going to lead us off. Andre Saba, Jesse Olsen rounding out the podium as it currently stands for GT3 Pro. Chris Kraus now leading GT3 AM with Landon Orr and Marcus Osborne in those other podium spots as well. Daniel Curo just outside of them and currently in 4th. And Chris Wells in 5th for those drivers. Tyler Roberts still holding up GT3 Pro. Joe Evers going to be just behind him for that one. Kenny Duvall is currently leading GT4 AM just ahead of Sean Roberts, who is in 2nd. Out of our 25 starters, 24 still on the track, only one who is just not, and that is going to be Matt Markley after his big incident earlier on. I say big. He had a self-spin that went right into the wall, unfortunately. So we'll have to see Nate trying to put some heat in those tires, along with a good portion of the field behind him. You can see Dan Griffin, Nicholas Maynard also desperately trying to get some heat in those tires as well. Just over 15 minutes of racing action about to get set to go underway once again. Nate Side's going to lead off the GT3 Pro field, and here in just a moment they come around that final corner. That safety car going to do a little bit of a power slide as it gets itself back around. It's going to bail into pits here. You see it make that hard right turn into that pit lane to get out of the way. Nate Side's now going to control that restart as we get ready to go racing here. We're going to see the lights do not pop up for us. We're just going to have to believe it. That green flag comes into the air, and Nate Sides leads them off as they go flying down the start-finish stretch. Andre Saba getting a great run, as well as Jesse Olsen, both trying to fight off 2-3 wide in the background. We're going to see all of them paired down. Jesse Olsen getting the lead on Andre Saba, 2 wide, pushing, bumping and rubbing. That's a Nate Sides off track on the restart. That's going to bump him way down the order as he tries to get back in. Nicholas Maynard and Dan Griffin all trying to get past as well. Nicholas Maynard currently sitting in 3rd. After that, Dan Griffin chasing him down. Chris Kraus trying to get his own way through and on the racing line. Dan Griffin late on the brakes. Andre Saba going off track. Andre Saba getting a crash with Jesse Olsen here. As we have a bunch more. Landon Orr also, as well as Tony Caicedo as well. Let's take a look here real quick at what happened there.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we had 2 separate incidents.
Yeah, we did. Jesse Olsen, Andre Saba. We'll take a look at this one first. Oh, that's going to be a contact that, both of them hard out in the wall. Take one more look at that. I'm going to ride on board if I can with Andre Saba, figure out what happened here. See if there's just a turn. He breaks in the gravel and then just runs into
the gravel.
Jesse Olsen. Oh, that is unfortunate.
That's just so unfortunate. Just a smidge too wide trying to extend that entry. And what happened back with Landon? Was it just everyone checked
up and then he thought he had the room in Baker?
He didn't know. Oh, wow.
And Kevin Medina labeled as crashed as well. He's just pulling it off the road after.
I think something else happened because Dan Griffin and Chris Kraus are down in 13th and 14th, and Patrick Cantrell sitting in 2nd. This has just been
Chris Kraus running into Dan Griffin, causing that chaos to unfold. Oh my goodness.
And that's the championship, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it is the championship decided there. Tony Caicedo. Okay, there we go. I was trying to figure out what happened there.
I'm assuming Tony probably has some wheel damage from the earlier incident and the car just not as stable as it was before.
I think his tires weren't warmed up either. It's going to be my guess.
I'm sure that's not helping either.
How that car slid on him.
And that, unfortunately, is going to give Tony a penalty if the drive-through. Chris Kraus also getting a drive-through from his incidents on that.
Oh, no.
And it is all just kicked off here, and Nick Maynard may have a bit of a Sunday drive home here with everything else that's happened behind him.
Yeah, everything else happening behind him. 3 seconds of the good now. Patrick Cantrell and Ian Baker duking it out for the other 2 spots on the GT3 Pro podium for tonight. Marcus Osborne might come home with that GT3 AM win now that Chris Kraus and Landon Orr both have had incidents in front of him in that podium. I have to keep an eye on this drive for these cars as they get into the braking zone. Ian Baker looking for the way around as we go into the carousel once again. Let's see who else. Nick Terrell, Luke Plaisance also duking it out in BMWs, not for position per se, but bit of a rough one tonight after the restart. Ian Baker trying to send the look for Luke Plaisance going off track as well. With 10 minutes left to go, this battle for these spots in GT3 Pro as well as overall, including Daniel Curo and Marcus Osborne, who have a fight ahead of them, are looking to be the things to watch. I wonder if I could find maybe Nate Sides. See what it looks like. The cars that are in front of him going down the Sargento Cheese Bridge and I would say one of 2 really long straights, though they're really not perfectly straight any of the time. So we'll see how this battle between, as the windshield wipers turn on for Nate Sides, as I think the game determines that he had something that he needed to wipe off, or he chose to.
I know we only have 10 minutes left. We're not the best about this, but are you a avid windshield wiper user in iRacing?
I struggle with it because of the way it gets modeled in VR. It really, it takes a lot for it to be to the point where I need it. It tends to end up just kind of beating in a way that I can see through most of the time, and ends up not being a thing I really worry about too much. I'll turn it on if I feel like I need it. That's only if it's really downpouring and I feel like it's collecting very hard.
And what about with tire rubber and stuff like that? When it gets dirty, do you?
On occasion, if it gets real bad or it's right in the middle of something and it bothers me, I'm I need to get that out of here. But otherwise, no. Sometimes it'll pop up in the corner. I'm
I'm the slightest black speck anywhere on my windshield. I'm taking it once. But I do it in real life. Slightest sprinkle. Windshield wipes on. I cannot stand things in my windshield.
Interesting.
Nate a little wide there as we have windshield talk.
The battle's basically all in front of Nate Sides that we've been riding along with for the moment. Daniel Curo getting real close to Marcus Osborne, trying to have that look for the GT3 AM. Sends a fake. Marcus doesn't buy it. Keeps his own line and his own race running. We'll have to see how.
And look at through all this. Nick Trell, starting a lap down, is now sitting there in P7 coming up on his friend Nate.
Oh, man.
As he comes over them, he can tell Nate to execute order 66.
Oh, there's a look from Nate Sides going up the inside, sliding in just behind Marcus Osborne. Yeah, that's it. Nick Terrell just about to tell him to move out of the way or move someone else out of the way for them. Patrick Cantrell in second, also a fantastic battle there. Luke Plaisance, Chris Kraus running too wide through that. Luke not wanting to yield that position at all. These two have been at it before. Luke is trying to get through it unscathed. And Luke says,
So, and I
don't.
want to add something as Luke Plaisance comes through here. Marcus Osborne, who's about 8 places ahead of him on track, which I think is about 18 points
Yeah.
difference between him and where Luke Plaisance is now. Marcus is what, 22 points back in the championship?
I believe so. Let me double check.
And this will be his worst result. And I can assume how well Luke has raced this year. This will not replace Luke's worst result. It will actually be a drop for him. So this Marcus Osborne sitting P4 right now and holding on to it could be the difference in the GT3 AM championship. For Marcus, that's a massive comeback in this final race potentially. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, I think you're very correct for thinking that. I'm trying to figure out what happened here between Chris Wells and Jesse Olsen. Because I just saw that come across our ticker. That he already has a messed up front from that initial contact, trying to get back through it. Oh, that is Chris Wells just trying to get out of the way and just running right into Jesse Olsen's
Sudi
path.
on Sudi crime as well.
Ugh. So they both
I'm
get
sure
those
the Sudi
crimes.
Discord is going to have some spirited discussions after that this evening.
I would have to imagine Dan Griffin getting around Luke Plaisance, or trying to. Luke Plaisance defending the inside there. Dan getting that car put back together, looking to try to recover whatever places he can. Definitely a drop week for Dan. Oh no?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Nate was going by Marcus, and Nate threw a little dive on Daniel Curro. They got together. He straightened Daniel back out. I don't know if Daniel's going to have any damage. But a little bit of precautions from Big Terrell there, who perennial clean driver, I would say. Someone who is not involved in a lot of incidents. Was just itching to get by Daniel there and kind of forced his way through a little bit in a way we don't typically see Nick do.
Yeah, I wonder if he was just also late on the brakes, didn't anticipate the way that the track kind of falls away from you there
Potentially as
from
well.
the uphill. Yeah. You got him focused to put back the right
It's
direction.
not what Marcus wants to see. Marcus was, I'm sure, very happy to see a car between him and Nick with, I'm going to guess we're coming to 3 to go here.
Believe so.
I'm going lap 39. It's looking like we're going to go 4 laps this evening. And like we were talking about, Marcus needs every point he can get now to have a shot to maybe pull off the miracle in his last race of the season, GT3 AM. We will never hear the end of it if Marcus comes back to race for one season and wins a championship and then leaves.
Yeah, we won't. We won't hear
Wins
it.
his own league. So I think we're going to have some FIA investigation into how we let that happen.
Maybe he just got decent at driving as soon as he stopped, sitting in the booth and doing nothing but talking about it.
He did say he really enjoyed new tires in GT3. So I remember him saying that when they first came out that they just made sense in his head. So not that Marcus was ever a bad driver.
Sure.
But he's come in here and put together a great season and has a shot now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's go back Nate's side pretty tight. If Nate makes any mistakes, which we saw happen to Nate at turn 1, and if I'm Luke here, this is what I was talking about with what Chris did earlier.
Yeah.
Luke might put the bumper to him.
Especially because I
he's
think
playing nice for now.
Chris is trying to, play defense for his teammate there, further up.
He could be.
Luke is, I think, maybe having none of it.
He's going to put the bumper to him. This is the corner. He doesn't do it.
Yeah, but has to go the long way. Looking for that over-under. Doesn't get it done into this corner. Oh, there's the look. Has the swap over. Is driving well for the moment. We'll have to see how this works out. This battle is for 5th in GT3 AM, and see here, 10th of a second. Oh, late on the brakes for Luke. He's going to force the issue. He gets through pretty unscathed. Chris going to give him a fight going into turn number 13A. But Luke pulls ahead enough to make that pass happen without issue. As I believe we are 2 to go. Nicholas Maynard on the corner, many corners ahead. Wesley Woods diving into pit lane for a drive-through penalty, I believe. Or is this in his box?
Championship implications. Nate Sides dropped a wheel, and Marcus Osborne got back past him. Sorry, I'm just watching this fight so intently. I almost hope this ends in a tie.
It certainly could, especially as Marcus moves up the order there, getting ahead of Nate Sides with that wheel drop. I'd say Chris Kraus and Luke Plaisance still in their own heated battle for positioning. I think it's going to mean that this will come down to the wire, is going to be my guess. This is one of the few times where I wish I had picture-in-picture to do both races on the same thing. Someday.
Is Marcus in the party chat? Because I'm going to do something to him that he would do to me. Oh, he's not in there.
No, he
dang it.
Smart.
I was going to pull him.
Yeah, I know you were.
He said to me, I owe him one.
Yep.
To do it in the last race of the year would have been the time. Oh, he got a great exit there.
Yeah, he did.
Let's see if the weave starts here.
No, keeping it pretty smooth.
Nick's chirping both of them on the radio, trying to... Nate says this is the last time he'll ever give Marcus a setup. And those three chirp each other on the radio. I'm sure Marcus is absolutely sweating right now.
Yeah, bad exit from turn number 1 for Marcus, though, is going to cause Nate to send it up the inside. So the pass gets done back between the two of them. Chris Kraus into pit lane for the drive-through. Marcus looking for the send. Oh, almost touches.
Oh, he put bump to him. Oh,
don't think that was intentional.
Marcus had to. He's good. It is definitely not. Marcus is giving it 120% to try to just get any extra points he can, but he's got to be careful because if he loses too much time on a move again, the Spaceballs BMW is right there.
It's already right there. Let's see if we can ride on board with Nick Terrell, who's been having the front row seat for this whole endeavor. Now sits 2/10 behind Marcus Osborne and has looking for his way up the order into P5 overall instead of just P5 and GT3 Pro.
Oh, and I don't want to cut away from this. Nick Maynard is coming up the hill right now, but he is going to, stay here. Just want to announce Nick Maynard has, I believe we can call it, has won Season 11 and for OMEC GT3.
Nick keeps
Nick's
his foot in.
Good Lord.
And the over-under.
Watching Nick drive is so much fun. Let's see if it can happen. I don't think he's going to have the time.
I don't think he'll have enough space.
He may have gotten him by turn 1.
Yeah. Windshield wipers on, but he does not by 5/100ths. He will lose out. But on the podium for GT3 Pro, Nicholas Maynard coming home to take, I think, that win as you see him burning it down there on the start-finish stretch. Patrick Cantrell as well going to be P2 on that podium. Only a second ahead of Ian Baker. GT3 Marcus Osborne, 5/100ths behind Nick Terrell. Daniel Curio going to be in P2 there. A very solid finish for Daniel, all the same. And Shane Brown, who had been a lap down earlier. Also, another, car that had been a lap down to start, coming home very well, Shane Brown, who brings that car home P number 3. Dan Griffin comes home 6th in GT3 Pro after that. incident with Chris Kraus. We are still waiting on a couple cars to come home over the finish line. Tyler Roberts looking to take home GT4 Pro. Less than a second ahead of Kenny Duval. Hold on, let's see if I can ride along with Gil Tozo, who is going to have a front row seat for all this. Joe Evers only 2 seconds behind. You know, after all of that racing, seeing the GT4 drivers all come home within 3 seconds, 4 seconds of each other is pretty fantastic.
It's been great. I mean, nothing like a late race safety car to really spice things up too. It took us all 4 Enduros, but we did get one eventually. Man, those GT4s, these guys just run so close. They've ran so close all season long. They've all shown up, so great to see.
Yeah. Sean Roberts as well will finish up. That is going to be the last of our finishers, which means we can hop over to some results. If I hit the buttons to do it right, which I seem to have.
And I think as we bring these up, I think it's time to finally bring Nicholas Maynard in.
Let's see.
GT3 Pro winner.
Certainly.
Nick Maynard, do we have you?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Hey, we saw you in the interview booth a lot of the race. Didn't want to bring you in during the race. We weren't quite sure if you were looking for an in-race interview or not, but congratulations on the win this evening. I believe if I would find it hard to believe that you could win a race and lose 10 points in the championship. So I do believe that brings you the Pro Championship. How you feeling? Talk us through that race.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was open to getting drug in at any time. It was kind of between Dan and I, and we've raced a lot, so I knew he was going to keep it clean. Unfortunately, he had a accident at the end, but no, it was awesome. It was a long season. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed what you guys put together here with the format and everything, and it was fun. It was a battle, and excited to take it down.
Awesome. Format changing a bit next season. LMP2 and GT3s instead of GT3s and GT4s. If you're going to be back next season, what can we expect to see you in?
Most likely GT3. I've been sticking with it for a little while now. LMP2 and I had a rough history, so I'll probably stick to GT3.
Love to see it. Come back, try to defend that GT3 Pro title. Fen, got any questions for Nick? Nick or Nicholas? Actually, I should probably clarify that. I've been calling you Nick all year.
Whichever you want.
Are you excited to keep battling Dan Griffin throughout another season? How do you, being in GT3 while dealing with LMP2, is that easier or harder to deal with than GT4s?
Just being the car that's getting passed, sometimes I find a little bit more of a stress in being the slower car, just because us fast car, anytime faster cars, sometimes they like to send it, so you've always got to keep an eye out for that. Whereas when you're in the faster car, I feel like it takes a little bit of the stress off because you're kind of the one dictating what's going on. But yeah, it all depends. There's good and bad drivers out there in any class, so if everybody's a good driver, it's no issue at all.
Sweet. I think that was
Awesome.
my one big question I was curious about.
And then,
But
and then
sure we'll have-
funny enough, Dan and I have actually started teaming up a lot of the endurance events, and we're going to be running together this fall. So that's all due to you guys here at OMEC. So big thank you to you guys.
Of course.
Well, if you and Dan are ever looking to run, I won't make that. I'll message you. We'll see what happens there.
Right on.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Nick. And congratulations again on the championship. We'll probably have that official announcement come out in the next day or two, as we got to double check Landon's math. He did build the website from scratch, and it hasn't been perfect, but for a from scratch website, it's pretty impressive. So we'll make sure that we'll clarify that. But congratulations on what seems to be a great season and a great win.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to everybody at OMEC for putting this on. I know it's a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and big shout out to everyone involved, and a huge thank you. It was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. I think we bring in Marcus and Luke together, right?
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. I think I agree.
Marcus and Luke.
Hello.
I had to bring y'all both in together. Marcus, hell of a race.
Thank you.
It looks like you took advantage of that safety car period. The reason why I brought you both in here is I believe on track tonight, there's an 18-point difference between you two on track this evening. And coming into this race, there was a 24-point difference between you two in the standings. So with drop weeks, this could get very interesting.
Ooh.
Have any of you already? Yeah, Marcus, you were at the end there. Some of Luke's passes at the end of the race. Luke, unfortunate race for you. I saw it was a little bit rough. I got some questions for what happened when you disappeared for about 10 seconds on our screens. But take us through your race, Marcus, and then Luke, take us through yours.
Yeah. I spent the first hour before the race trying to make a setup and failing miserably, and then finally got one kind of safe figured out, and I just wanted to survive. I didn't qualify. The opening laps, I was just so gentle. I let everyone go past me, and then, after the first pit stop, I saw I was only 6 seconds behind Chris, but then Landon was in front of me. Did you get any of that on the broadcast? Me and Landon?
We got pretty much the entire fight between you and Landon on the broadcast. It was wonderful.
I was ticking the time down to Chris, but then Landon was in front of me. I just kept catching up, and then so I'm fighting with Landon, and I just see Chris going away like half a second a lap. I'm like, oh my god, who paid Landon to be the blocker car? And so it was just that the whole time. And then I saw Chris didn't get fuel at the safety car, so then I was like, oh, unless Chris crashes, it's all over. There's nothing I can do. And then he crashed.
He definitely
here I
did in
am.
spectacular fashion. I encourage you to go check the discussion chat to see Patrick's view of that wreck. Luke, I do have a question for you. We saw at one point in the last corner, it looked like you entered the corner, your car disappeared, and when it reappeared, you were in the barriers. Did you have any kind of computer issues? Is what we assumed happened on the broadcast.
I had computer issues throughout the entire race. My screen froze probably about 6 times. So every time you've seen me just like go off track randomly is because I couldn't see where I was going. And I'm not really saying that to like make excuse, like it was genuinely happening. And that last corner that you're talking about, I had like some actual packet loss where like the game froze, and when it came to, I'm in the barrier. So luckily it was the last corner to where I could just like put it into the pit lane to where I didn't have to tow or anything. So I lucked out there. But it was a very heartbreaking experience to have to like put up with that because I was just losing. I think I was 2 laps down in last place. Like it was that bad to where the yellow flag got me back into the race, to where I believe I finished 3rd in AM for this race. So if it wasn't for the yellow flag, it would have been a grim day for me, to put it simply.
Well, that is why we do the random yellows. I am glad that we finally got one at the very end of this season, brought you back into it, staying in the race. Definitely, that late pass on Chris Kraus, I think on the last lap may have, I don't want to say saved your championship, but may have been the move to win the championship.
I hope you caught that, because that was one of the battles where my screen didn't freeze, and it was the most fun at like the last couple minutes of the race. It was a shame that Chris had to pit, like, because I was genuinely having some fun with that battle. But I'm hoping, I hope I secured the chip, because I fought pretty hard this season.
Yeah, I know Landon will be running those tabulations. We'll double check that with the OMEC bot, and make sure that all that's cleaned up. Fen, anything for these guys?
I think the bot has been updated, but we'll have to see. Marcus, are you coming back to the booth next season?
Oh, I feel like I have to. I don't know if I want to.
Okay. You don't have to.
I mean, who's gonna? I can't live up to Kevin's safety car, Frederick. Those are big boots to fill, my guy.
Did y'all think that ran pretty smoothly tonight? Because I did change it on the fly before the race from what we did in the preseason, based off some feedback I got in the preseason.
I
What did
think
you
it
guys
was
think of the
smooth for
safety car
me.
period?
I think it was
Was it a
really
lap
good for
too
me.
long?
Yeah. Nah.
No, because on the very last lap right before we went green, I managed to catch up because I had to pit, and it was
Okay.
kind of a mess for me. But I had just enough time to catch up and actually be able to race without being too far behind. So it worked out.
Yeah, it looked good on the broadcast as well. Kevin, I didn't see
All that
any
matters.
too big.
Tyler Roberts almost caused the wreck. I know y'all didn't see it. He was sitting in the left lane, and I'm screaming at him to be in the right lane. I don't think he knew there was more GT3s coming. They let the field by, and they were just kind of warming their tires. And I think Chris Wells snuck up on him pretty quickly, or Shane Brown. I forget which one. They run the same scheme. But all right. Well, appreciate it, boys. I'm going to send y'all back down to the party chat. We will find out the standings shortly. But congratulations, both of you guys, on a great season.
Thanks, guys.
Go
Also, good broadcast for the season. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank
Absolutely.
you. We tried. We tried. It's all Fen. It's not really me. I don't do anything. I just show up and talk.
Disagree. I feel like you bring all the actual useful knowledge, and I just say things.
Well, I just do a lot of the. Oh, look at that.
Go take a look at this thing.
The color commentary.
Yeah,
The color
which is-
commentator
exactly.
noise.
Yeah, it's what you're here for. So
I need to
Oh,
get the Danny Sullivan scream. Just so look at this.
yeah, that or the who does it? A few of the commentators do, where they just breathe in through their teeth.
I don't know that. The Tony Romo. I don't know about that, Jim.
I don't know about yeah.
Dale Earnhardt's got a great one too. He's a big. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Oh no.
Oh goodness. Oh goodness.
So we've shown all of the various leaderboards for the season. We've talked with people. Final thoughts, Kevin Hayes, before we wrap up this season of OMEC, season number 11, if I remember correctly.
Season 11, 8 weeks. It was a great season. I will say at this point, I do miss being in the car. I think that 1 week that I did drive made me miss it even more, even though I only raced, 1.5 sprint races. We're going to have a couple weeks off here. I believe it's 3 weeks off, and we'll be back on, I want to say on the 16th of September. I will double check the schedule, swing by the OMEC Discord. I'm sure we'll be posting the official schedule in the next couple of weeks. Hoping to see some fun off-track events during the off-season. We always like to put those on. So even if you're not in the league, just watching, I hope the Hot Dog Crew is out here tonight. Come by for for fun races. We'll last off-season, I think we did a Pro 2 Lights versus Formula V's race. Where the Pro 2 Lights were allowed to run anywhere on track, or maybe we just ran the Pro 2s, and they were allowed to just cut the track. There was no track limits. And that was a blast. We've done the Knock Hill Tri-Oval with a collection of LMP1s, Indy cars, based off of the rule that week was a bit of a fundraiser for the league, because these things do cost some money to put on with the broadcast stuff and the trophies that we do give out, real trophies for our winners here. Where a donation to the league allowed you to pick a car to put in the tri-oval race. So that was a fun one. So we've done some fun stuff like that. I'm hoping to see what maybe some of the drivers cook up in the next couple weeks to fill their Tuesday nights. And then we'll be back for season 12 as we go away from the GT4s back to the prototype land. With the LMP2s and the GT3s, I believe we're still going to have a GT3 Pro and a GT3 AM class. Going to run pretty similarly to how we ran that GTP season, but I'll say a little bit of a better track selection than the GTP season was with some of the oddball. There was a fun season.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it a little bit more traditional this time, I do believe. But excited to. I am formally announcing I will be back in a nice matte metallic purple prototype car as I was in the GTPs. So excited to get back on track in a couple weeks, and if we're feeling up to it, maybe we'll broadcast one of these or have someone stream it from point of view.
Absolutely. One of the two. We'll figure it out. But I don't have a ton to add. I think you guys have covered all the big things. Excited for next season. Excited to see the LMP2s because I think that'll be a fun change of pace. It's, I think, the right amount of speed to downforce ratio. That's an enjoyable experience.
Oh, it's such a wonderful machine. It's my favorite car on the service besides the Indy car. The LMP2 is just so good. Everything about it's so good. Actually won my VIR race there last week, and
nice.
Did not touch VIR the rest of the week because one IMSA race at VIR is enough.
Yes. That it
so
is.
Very, very excited to get back behind the wheel of that car.
I believe, unless I'm told otherwise, I'll probably be back in the booth with y'all next season. So you get to listen to me drone on and terribly talk about cars for another 8 weeks. Unless I'm told I can't come back, which I wouldn't blame people.
I think you'll be back.
Fair.
You might be solo, but you'll be
Okay.
back.
All right. I might be solo, which that's okay. I can manage being solo. I will live, as it were. But until then, if you want to get in on the action, omecsimracing.com on the bottom of the screen there is probably the best place to check up on everything, as well as the link there. It'll take you to the Discord directly. There's a little join Discord option in the top right of that website once you click on it. If you want to be a part of the action or join in on OMEC racing here in a few weeks' time and September. So I think that's it. Anything else, Kevin? Or we're going to call it an evening, wrap up the season, as it were.
Well, that is it for me as well. Appreciate everyone for tuning in and being here this season. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Been a blast to share the booth with you, Kevin. And we will see you all back here in a few weeks' time on Tuesday nights, 6:30 Central, for more racing action in about a month's time. Just under. Not even a month's time. A few weeks' time. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. English. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. There we go.